Hey folks, Mark Winter from WinSource here. Hey, recently I've been thinking a lot about contacts and contact management. So if you've been in sales for any length of time, like me, you've probably amassed a ton of contacts. So your contacts can be comprised of people you're working with currently, accounts that you have an obligation to, prospects that you're working with, folks that give you referrals regularly, folks that you engage in networking with, your friends, just your friends, family, and social networks. The list goes on and on and on, right? If you spend any time with a salesperson, one thing you'll know about salespeople is they know everybody. So, and as well they should. But that presents a challenge. And the challenge is, over time, it gets really hard to be consistent managing those contacts. And so I started thinking about an easy way, a simplified way to manage a salesperson's contacts. And so I think about it this way. I think about it like a landscape. And I wanted to share that process with you now. Hopefully it'll add some value to the way you think about your contacts, the way you manage them, and give you some semblance of priority as to how you manage and keep in contact with those contacts so that you fulfill your obligation to be a good salesperson and a good networker. So let me share that with you now. Here's how I think about it. I'm going to try to draw a landscape here. So let's say we've got our solid ground, and we've got our road heading off into the distance, and we've got some mountains here, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we got a couple of clouds up here in the blue sky, so we'll put a cloud over here too. So we've got our mountains, our blue sky. Let's do some happy trees. We'll pay homage to the artist guy. What was his name? Bob Vila or something? Bob somebody. If you watch this video, tell me who the name was, because I can't think of it right now. But anyway, you know what I mean, the happy little trees guy. Anyway, so I think about a landscape set up like this, right? And this kind of helps me think about how I place my contacts on the landscape. Let me tell you what I mean. So up here, we'll call this blue sky area. And we'll call this the road ahead. So this is our road ahead. This is solid ground over here. Oops, there is an N right there. This is our root system. There we go. And up here, I'm going to do it in a different color. I'm going to say this is our horizon over this way. Okay, so let me tell you what I've got here as far as a picture and how it can help kind of manage your contacts. So first of all, when we think about going on a road trip together, right? We're in a car, we're traveling down the road together, we get their hands at 10 and 2. There's nothing more important than the road ahead, right? We have to pay strict attention to what's coming up at us, because there's risk if we don't. And I think about our contacts the same way. So there's a grouping of contacts, folks that you're working with today, that are on your road ahead. They're the folks that you have active engagements with. They're the folks that you have obligations to. So either you promise them something, or you're selling them something, or either you're working with them as part of a project team. And those are the folks that are squarely on your road ahead. Now, what I would say as far as time and priority for those folks is touch them as often as you have to keep momentum. You as a salesperson are in charge of stepping on the gas, applying the brake, controlling the steering. And so you're the best judge of how often these folks on the road have to be contacted, or how often they want to be contacted. And so that's your number one priority. So as you think about your contact list, take a look and say, who am I actively working with now? Who do I have an obligation to? Those are the folks that are on this road trip with you. So that's number one priority. Number two is solid ground. So we've got folks that kind of jump out ahead and pave the way for us as salespeople. You know who they are. They're folks like those who give you referrals. They're past customers that you've worked with. They're folks at your company. They're folks that you work with as part of a project team. Or that you engage with on a regular basis. But there's some sort of reciprocal relationship that happens, and if you don't hold up your end of the bargain, that solid ground starts to get a little shaky, right? We see divots in the road. You get the analogy, right? But we've got to keep in contact with those folks that are on our solid ground. Now, my recommendation to you is the folks that are in your solid ground bucket, you need to contact them in accordance with how fast the road ahead is moving. So if you're working with somebody in a company who's a coach or that's providing you referrals, and you're on a really fast track sales cycle with that organization, then you might need to touch the folks in your common ground a little bit more often. I would think that the folks in your solid ground group, you're going to want to keep up with them at least once a week, or at the very least every other week, just to make sure that the relationship stays fresh. Sometimes it's good to just reach out to those people to let them know you're thinking about them, even if you don't have updates or status updates or progress to report, just so they know that they're top of mind. Let's talk about a couple of the other groups. This root system. So this root system, I would say, is kind of like your contact book. It's everybody in the roots. It's everybody in your contact network. And those folks, as a salesperson, we're often reaching out to them on social media, connecting with them on LinkedIn, sending a periodic email. If you're like me, you sometimes send out blogs or white papers or articles that you find interesting. And this is kind of a daily thing. So in order to keep my root system fresh, in order to keep it growing and keep it active, I use a 3 times rule. So one of the things I start my day with is every day I come into the office and I go through each aspect of social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, and I make 3 contacts. So at least 3 outgoing contacts. Those could be done through Messenger. Those could be done through Sales Navigator. Take your pick, but it's how I start my day so that I know that my root system is getting some action. Now, beyond that in the day, there's certainly people I'm going to reach out to that I want to stay in touch with, that are a necessary part of my business, like partners and suppliers and references and folks that give me referrals and people that I'm working with and folks that I want to provide value to. And so I try not to let anybody in this root system go for more than 30 days. Now, sometimes it happens, right? People slip off the radar or you lose contact and you think to yourself, man, I should reach out to that person more often. That's okay, don't sweat it, but try to set some kind of a contact goal. My personal one is 30 days here. You institute whatever works best for you. So let's talk about these top 2. Blue sky. So the blue sky folks, the folks that are up there in the clouds, the blue sky, are the ones, I almost look at them like mentors. And so they could be former teachers, they could be business associates that you have a lot of respect for, people that you've worked with in the past that have just taken on a mentor type role. They could be really good friends. And this is an important group because it's really about keeping you energized and keeping you focused and to continuously learn your craft. And these are the people that are going to show it to you. These are the people that are going to create some blue sky thinking and help you get clear on what your next set of objectives are. And so I try to make it a rule to meet up with some blue sky folks a couple of times a month. So I've got a handful of people, some of you that are probably watching this video are in that blue sky group. And it's pretty common that I'll call and say, hey, let's grab a coffee, or hey, we're overdue, we need to grab some lunch. That's as much, I want to get as much out of that relationship as possible. I want to make sure that I'm adding value to that person, but also appreciating that blue sky thinking that they help me with. And so I try to make sure that at least a couple of times a month, I've set up a blue sky lunch or coffee date so that I can keep myself fresh and sharp and share ideas. So let's talk about the horizon piece last. So on the horizon, it's kind of the triage area. And your horizon, for the most part, just like when you're wanting to go on a road trip, should be clear. You should have no one in that zone. Now, it's not realistic. Every once in a while, you're going to have somebody in there. And so I would encourage you to think about this horizon piece as like a triage. So if I have somebody that I've just met, so let's say I go to a chamber event and I just meet somebody that I think, hey, there's some synergy there, right? There's something that, something clicked. I think I need to reach out to that person again. My job now is to figure out, while I'm looking at them on the horizon, where do they fit? Are they part of my root system? Is it something that someone that I can continue to add value to over time through writing or through ongoing contact? Is it somebody that's going to help me get a job done? Is it somebody that I need to make part of my regular regimen so that we can work together on building the road ahead? Or is it somebody that maybe I can engage directly with for business, a prospect, somebody that I need to invite into the vehicle on this road trip and move a sale forward? So that triage process, that looking at them on the horizon, shouldn't take very long. But and by the way, people may move from category to category over time, but our goal is to keep that horizon line clear so that so the road ahead is clear. So that's kind of how I think about contacts and how I think about prioritization of contacts in these buckets. Again, just to give you an overview, road ahead, people that are close, probably a business associate, somebody you're doing business with now. Solid ground, people you're working with directly. Root system, that's just your network and your contacts. Blue sky, your mentors, the people that keep your best thinking forward. And then the horizon, the folks that you've got to fit into a bucket so that you can figure out how and when you're going to contact them and under what kind of priority. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this picture or something like it helps you establish your contact management so that you can contact your network consistently, so that you can consistently add value, so that you can consistently reach out to folks that could use your help. If you have any feedback, send it to me. I'd love to hear it. And for crying out loud, if anybody can remember who this Bob guy is, all I can think about is Bob Davis. Anyway, so if you know who that is, give me a call back. Have a great day. Take care, folks.